So you guys have been hearing me talk about my wife on the podcast here for like 10 episodes now. So I said, why not bring her on here for one, especially for a movie episode, because apparently the movie episodes are starting to like pick up steam and a lot of people are liking them. And that's kind of one thing that I feel you and I share a lot of, because as I mentioned a lot, you're not particularly a fan of wrestling. You're coming around to it and everything. So I thought, what better way to introduce everybody to the world out there, my partner in life, and somebody who supports me through everything I do, even this crazy endeavor that I'm doing here. And, just talk about a movie that you enjoy.
I love this movie.
We're going to talk about Naked Gun, because we went to go watch that movie.
Yeah.
The new one, the one with Liam Neeson, and we enjoyed it a lot. And I wanted to go back and watch it because you did not know this about me at the time, but I really love slapstick comedy. It's so dumb. It's great. And I knew that the new Naked Gun was going to be slapstick, but I didn't know how ridiculous it was going to get.
Yeah.
And it got me interested in going back to watch the original ones.
Yeah.
But then after we talked about it more and more, you kept telling me to instead you wanted to watch Psycho. And I was like, sure. Let's go into that. But because you kept, I don't want to say pushing it in a bad way, because you kept pushing it, I was like, you know what? Let's actually watch that. Good. I feel like I can't call myself a horror movie fan when I haven't watched the classics.
Agreed. And
there was one part in the movie where we literally just finished watching it in our living room. This is my office, by the way, guys. So this is what I recorded and everything sometimes. And so we're literally just finished watching it in our living room, and we came out here and we came to record this episode. But there was one scene, which we'll talk about later, that just like immediately got me. I was like, there it is. And you were like, what? And I was like, just wait till we record so I can tell you. And so now we're here. So we're going to be talking about Psycho today. But before I continue, because I normally don't give this long of an intro, and I also haven't said your name. I'm sorry. This is Heather. This is my guest. This is my wife. You might see her around for a few more episodes after this because we live together. So it's like, you know what? I can have you on for as many episodes as I want.
That's right.
But this won't be the Kirby and Heather podcast. It won't. I don't know. Maybe in the future. We'll see. But you wanted to talk about Psycho. This is Heather, guys. So before we get started with everything and whatnot, why don't you let the people know a little bit about yourself, what I guess what your history is with cinema, like what are your favorite genres and stuff like that, way they can kind of get a little bit of feeling of who you are.
Okay. Well, I like movies. I really like animated movies, specifically movies that have not much going on. They're not that busy. So Charlie Brown, basically kids movies. And when I started getting into horror movies, I started at the much earlier movies because I don't know, there's just not much going on visually. They're pretty much straight to the point. And Psycho was one of the movies that was recommended to me. So I went out and bought it. And well, also because it's kind of a difficult movie to just find on streaming or on certain platforms. So bought it, watched it. And I love it. I love that it's in black and white. And I don't know how to properly explain what I mean by not that busy. There's just certain shots. It's just the two characters together. They're not really in a populated area. It's just them in a room. And there's not much going on in the room. There's not much visual information to take in. And yeah.
Yeah. So that's what got you interested in, just the fact that it was so simple.
Basically the fact that it was so simple, straight to the point.
Okay. So as I mentioned, guys, we're going to be talking about Psycho. I can't believe that I haven't watched it, but here's the thing.
Yeah. What stopped you?
I know enough about Psycho to kind of have picked up on the little things here and there, like, oh, this is a reference to this, which obviously in turns is not a reference to that movie. Yeah. They are referencing this movie because this is the classic. But what stopped me is the fact that it's an older movie. Anything from before 2006 was when I started work, 2008. 2008 is when I started working. So anything before then was kind of hard for me to get to because, as you know, I was a very sheltered kid. I didn't really like watch movies or anything like that. I maybe went to the movies every once in a while because my sister took me with her. Yeah. And I just started watching stuff. And I was like, sure, Mean Girls, classic. Teenage Diary of a Teenage Drama Queen, classic. And I like how I'm just naming Lindsay Lohan movies. But like I couldn't I didn't like horror back when I was younger. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you know this story. I mean, you might not actually. We'll see. We're gonna find out if she knows this or not. So when I was younger, I used to watch Dragon Ball Z every single night in Mexican TV. And then right after Dragon Ball Z was like 10 o'clock, 9:30 or something, which was my bedtime. And I used to live in a 2-story house where the master bedroom is up here because I always used to sleep with my parents because I was a scaredy cat. And then there's a hallway, which is like a closet. And then there's another hallway that leads to a second room that's open, and then also a restroom. Okay. In front of that restroom, there's a staircase that goes downstairs, and that's where the dining room, the living room, and everything is. And again, this is a Mexican household, so I believe all the spirits and bullshit and everything, right? So I'm up there, and as soon as Dragon Ball Z is over, the second it's over, there's no transition, nothing. The next thing immediately starts, and it was always either Chucky or the It miniseries for TV. Every single time. So
intense, scary.
It was terrifying.
Yeah.
So I was always afraid of horror movies because obviously seeing Pennywise scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Seeing Chucky scared the shit out of me. And I think it was Child's Play 2 because thinking back about it, like he already had the scar and everything. Like, so it wasn't like the original Child's Play. So, you know, I was always just afraid. And so as soon as it came on, I just yelled, Mom! And it was just like, you know, like it was terrifying.
Instead of going to her,
exactly.
she had to come get you.
Exactly. Because I was afraid that if I hopped off the bed, something was going to grab me. And then again, that hallway, when that second light was off, the only light is on is in my room. So I'm like, nah, I'm good. So I was never into horror movies, and that carried on to me being older.
Yeah.
I watched Scary Movie, and I thought that was hilarious because that was the comedy back at the time, but I never watched Scream. And it's funny to me thinking of Scream as a real horror movie series because I first think of Scary Movie.
Really?
But I love Scream. Like, Scream's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think that was probably my gateway into not being scared anymore. I think.
Because I think it was something else, but continue.
Because then later, I started seeing the commercials to Saw on TV when I was watching SmackDown.
Okay.
And then I saw the commercials for The Ring. And then I saw commercials for The Grudge. And like, just all these things terrified me.
Yeah.
And again, at this time, I'm like 13, 14 years old. And I'm watching SmackDown in my garage at my house, the one that my sister lives at. And it's hot, but I'm outside by myself. And as soon as one of those things hits, I just have to sit there in fear because it's a complete room behind me. And if I turn around, something's going to be there. I just know it.
Yep.
And it was just terrible.
Oh.
And so after a while, I think I walked in on my sister watching Saw, I think.
This is what I know.
Yeah. And I think that's when everything's like, that wasn't scary. That was cool. What the hell?
Wild.
And then I watched Saw 2. And then I started working in movie theaters, which obviously had horror movies.
Yeah.
And so one day my mom was late to pick me up, and I was like, I'm just gonna go sit and watch a horror movie. Fuck it. And that was the weekend that Quarantine came out.
Okay.
And so I sat down, watched Quarantine. I was like, that was great. Why did I not like this? What the hell? And it was scary, yeah. But I was like, that was cool. And so I slowly started getting more into it, and then Saw was the true gateway for me to be like, I love this stuff. And that's why Saw has an incredibly soft spot in my heart. Aww. So now I've had to continue to go back and watch more horror stuff.
Yeah.
And the older stuff I watch, the more I get into it because I was like, this is what that's referencing. This is what that's referencing. I saw The Exorcist.
The building blocks. Yeah.
Like I saw The Exorcist finally maybe a decade and a half ago or so.
Yeah.
And no, that was like a decade and a half ago, 15 years ago. And it wasn't scary. Like at all. Like the only thing that scared me was the spider walk scene down the stairs, which funny enough, I don't know if you know this or not, it wasn't even in the original movie. It wasn't. That's in the extended version.
Yeah, the director's cut.
The extended version that came out later, I think in the 90s. That's when the spider walk scene happened.
You know what? That's an interesting point because that's another reason why I would go back and watch the later ones is because the gore of it was easier to watch. It's not scary.
I mean, the gore now is just really good effects.
I know, but it's scary.
Fair enough. So that was the way I got into it, and that's why I haven't watched older stuff. And I just find it fascinating that now that I'm going back to watch older stuff, especially for the podcast and everything, I'm able to, like I said, see the little things. Like the one thing that popped me, I was like, that's where it's from. And it's so satisfying for me to now be a huge fan of cinema as a whole, where I can go back and enjoy stuff. Like we watched Nosferatu for the first time, like last year before the new one came out. And I was like, that was fun.
Yeah.
That was enjoyable. And, we had to have a little bit of explaining, sure. But, it was like the story was there and it made sense. And I was like, I like this.
Even though it was a silent film,
Yeah. And that's why I was like, when you said Psycho, I was like, you know what? I think I should watch Psycho because, again, it's a classic. It's great. I feel like I know the story, but I was even shocked by some of the stuff that I saw. I was like, oh, I didn't expect that. Oh, I didn't expect that. And then I started piecing stuff in my brain together, and like a lot of the little references that are made here and there from other things. I'm like, I get it now. I get it now. So overall, it was an enjoyable experience, just at least for me. So I guess I want to ask, like, why do you enjoy Psycho as a whole? Because knowing you, I feel like that's a very shocking, like a juxtaposition of what I know about you. So, yeah. So
when I very first saw it, I fell in love with it because of the twist, and how everything happens. And it's just so good. And when I watched it for the first time, I didn't know what the twist was. I didn't know who the killer was. So I was just able to watch the whole thing just on the edge of my seat, like what's going on. And then interesting for this next watch through that we just did, I found myself really relating to the main character. Like I fully understood her motivations, the reason why things were happening. And it just watching it now in my 30s when I had watched it like in my 20s, it's just a lot of things started to make sense and I understood so much more. You want me to get into it, or
if you want to? We're gonna go through the story as well as we hit like the little story beats and everything.
Yeah.
Because I know you have a ton of notes. I also have a ton of notes, as I always do. So the movie starts with well, I already forgot her name.
So did I.
It's hold on. I literally wrote it down.
To be fair, we
Sam.
We don't find it out until like he's basically writing a letter to her.
So it's Sam and Marion.
Yeah, Marion.
They start by being in a hotel and they're right away explaining
their dynamic.
Their dynamic, which is that he's cheating on his wife, or at least that's what I picked up on.
Yeah.
And I was like, I already don't like you. And this is because that's just something that's off the table for me. I'm not a big fan of that kind of dynamic. And they're like, let's just run away together. And it's like, but I got to pay alimony. I got to do this and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, so he might be divorced. If he's paying alimony, then he's divorced.
He might be,
And so, but again, the dynamic is that
it's weird.
Yeah, he has responsibilities that he has to, especially in the 60s, that he has to take care of. And, he shouldn't be with somebody else. And he's still with somebody else. And it's like, we should run away. What would you do if you had the chance to run away? I think that's like basically the question that's posed, right? So then after that, she goes back to work.
Well, hang on. You're missing a couple things.
Okay.
So I noticed that they let her be in white clothing. She had a white bra on, she had a white skirt. So it's like, she's pure from her perspective. Like her intentions in this scene, they're pure. She loves him and she wants to be with him genuinely. And the reason why I say I relate to her is because as we see them talking, he's very woe is me. He's like, there's so many things going on. Like I can't do this. And I don't know if you caught it, but he had her pay for the hotel room. He flew in for work, but he had her pay the bill for that room. And so she's putting so much effort into this. All he's doing is showing up during her lunch break. And she's just so desperate for more. She wants more of a connection with him, more of a relationship, one where they're actually able to be together and not just sneak off, be intimate. And he's not giving it to her, and he's giving her all the excuses why. And it does kind of sound like he isn't divorced, like he's just leading her on and he just wants to be with her. And then at the end, he kind of toys with her and is like, yeah, okay, we can do this. But it's so heartbreaking to see because I know what that's like. I know what it's like giving in to the sad guy. And it's like, no, if you're just with me, I can make you happy. Things can be great if you just like try. And so, yes, then we move to she goes to work.
That's how we got together, guys. I was the sad guy. I'm kidding. Okay, so then she goes to work, we find out that she works at a place where they sell houses and land and stuff, basically.
Yeah.
Like a deed company.
Yeah.
And then this guy walks in.
Wait, hang on.
We're hanging on again.
So there's more.
Okay.
So also the buildup for them in the hotel room, glorious, because we get to see her yearning, what she wants most. And then it goes into her at work and we see the other character, the complete opposite of her.
She's very bubbly.
She's very bubbly and she's married. And, oh, this is just so cool. I'm just so hyped. These are also things that I didn't notice on my first watch through. But we see her, and it kind of sounds like she's bragging about her relationship when she's not. She's just saying like, oh, who called my mom to, or you're somebody, my mom to check on me, my husband. And it's just, we see her have this mundane marital life. And what also is so cool is she mentions like, do you have a migraine? Does your head hurt? She's like, I have some pills for that. And then she just kind of subtly mentions that on her wedding night, she had taken tranquilizers. So on top of that, we see this married woman who has her life together. She has the life that the other woman wants. But on her wedding night, there wasn't this passionate love that they were able to have. It was, I don't want to do this, but I'm too scared to say. And yet their relationship, tell me her name again. Marion?
Marion, yeah.
Marion.
Yeah.
We see her relationship. It's very fiery. It's very passionate, but she doesn't have that longevity that she wants. And so, yes, then we have the guys come in, and then continue.
And real quick, I want to take a quick detour. I like the fact that you pointed out the tranquilizer thing, being like it being a old school marriage of like, you know, the woman's there but not present, and they're just there because it's like the expectation, everything.
Yeah, it's for the husband.
I know that we've talked about this show before, and it's a show that you're probably never gonna watch. But that's literally what happens in BoJack Horseman.
Really?
Yeah, like the wife is very like kind of independent, but it's like kind of like by tragic means, because like she's married, but then there's one episode that is just so incredible where they like play with time. Like there's like a weird timeline that you have to follow, because it goes to the back to the present and then the past, and like the past and present converge into one moment to kind of teach the same lesson and everything. Where basically she had like one of the characters has a lobotomy, and that's kind of like the representation of like, you know, being a wife in the 50s and stuff like that. So it's like the fact that that's there and that it's so present just goes to show like how different times were back then. So anyways, that's crazy that like that's because I saw the tranquilizer and I was like, that's just such an odd thing to say, but you know, it's like it's 2025 right now, so it's like it's just such an odd thing to say. Okay, so the guy walks in, and he's very rich because he won't stop talking about how rich he is. The way he fixes his problems is by throwing money at it. And that's, I mean, I kind of relate to this a little tiny bit. I believe that money won't buy you happiness, but it will help you get to the place to be happy and everything, especially, you know, with, you know, how rich some people are out there and whatnot. And I mean, you know me, for me, I just want to be comfortable. I'm just like, I don't have to be rich. If you and I are taken care of and we have a decent place that we enjoy living at and our needs are met, everything else, I don't care. I'll help whoever needs help and everything like that. So, you know, that's just, it's really funny that he's just like, oh yeah, I'm paying $40,000 cash. And I was like, $40,000 cash for a house?
For his daughter's wedding.
Yeah. And I'm just like, for a house?
Yeah.
Take me back, bro.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I didn't catch that.
Yeah, I'm just like, that's so cheap. Especially like even the boss is like, all right, just take the money, take it to the bank.
He's like, come on.
Like, let's get this done. And even then, we'll probably give it back to him, and he'll just have us sign a check because it gets more secure. Which ultimately, that's what ends up being the entire movie's undoing. That $40,000 in cash, which I did not expect that to be such a focal point of the movie. Yeah, because when you introduce something like that, that's like the motivation for a character to kind of move through the story. Yeah. But that $40,000 is what started revolving around everything. The reason people look for her is not for Marion's safety, except for the sister. Yeah. It's just for the $40,000. Yeah. Which again, in a way, I think that's like kind of weird. Because again, only the sister, I guess Sam later on, whenever he
Sam had to be nudged a lot. Yeah. But yeah. It was.
And it was mostly just about the money. So it's like, kind of sus, bro. Yeah. But anyway, so they take the money, and then
hang on. Okay, I want to emphasize something else. Go ahead. Because like what I've started to notice in the film, it's like little things that slowly build up. Yeah. So when they enter the really rich guy, he doesn't just walk in with a guy. He notices Marion, and did I say her name right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, sorry. And then he goes and fully gets in her space. He sits down on her desk, and then he kind of leans. Yeah. He leans over. Like he invades her space, and it's clear she doesn't want it. Like she's not engaging. She's not like, she's being polite because that's what she's been raised to do, but she doesn't want him there. She doesn't want to talk to him. And then finally he goes away. And then so we have this scene of her. She manages to finagle her way to get out of work early on a Friday, and she gets home. And we see her outfit has changed. She is in a black bra and a black skirt.
Okay.
Yeah. And then her purse even changes to black. And I saw somebody explaining that like this is her giving in to her desires of bad things that she wants to do. Because I feel like up until this point, she's been a very do what I'm supposed to do what I have to do to appease other people. And I love how her character is this beautiful woman, but she isn't adorned with jewelry. The only thing she has on is a watch. She doesn't even have earrings, yet she's really pretty. She gets a lot of attention. And I lost my train of thought, but yeah. So we see her decide that she's going to do this.
And then she ends up leaving.
As she's gets in the car.
Town, her boss sees her.
Yes.
And at first I was like, well, why doesn't he just stop her and stuff? But he's like,
yeah,
that's Mary. And then he just keeps walking. It's like, okay.
And she happily waves to him because in her heart, she's like, she doesn't want to hurt anybody.
Yeah. But also she said that she needed to go home to rest because she had a headache.
Yeah.
So that's like running into your boss and when you're like, hey, I'm sick. And then you're not actually sick. Yeah. That's not something you want to do.
Dang it, Marion.
So she ends up leaving, and she is going to Fairvale, which is revealed to be in California.
Yes.
So she's driving out west because she's in Phoenix.
Yes.
So obviously going from there to there's like, I want to say 12 hours. I've made that drive before. And so she's got a 12-hour drive ahead of her with $40,000 in her pocket.
And nothing prepared. She walks out with a purse, no coat, no suitcase. It's her purse.
She did walk out with a suitcase because she packed her suitcase. That's what she was leaving.
Yeah. She did. She did. We never see it again, basically, until she's in the hotel room.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
okay.
Then she keeps driving, and then she's falling asleep. And so she pulls over to the side of the road to go to sleep, which I've done plenty of times. Shouts out to her for actually being careful about driving.
Yeah.
And then the next day she wakes up and this cop starts talking to her.
Yeah.
Which
taps on her window, wakes her up.
Yeah. At first, not a big deal. Like if she just like, oh, I'm sorry, I just fell asleep and needed to go to the side of the road. Whatever. Not a big deal.
Yeah.
But she was just acting so suspicious that I didn't blame the cop for being like, there's something suspicious going on here.
Yeah.
So, you know, I understood why the cop did what he did, like, you know, questioning her, getting the license plate. And it's funny because I wrote down the license plate thinking that it was going to be something very important. But I think it was just to make the differentiation of the cars.
Oh, true.
Because it was it's like ANL 709. So I was like, all right, so ANL 709, that's got to mean something. It's going to be like a clue for something.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like dropping a little foreshadowing and everything.
Yeah.
But it ended up just being, to recognize the car that it was a different one.
I do want to point out in that scene, I don't know if you caught it, but okay, she's in a lower car. The cop has to kneel down in order to be able to talk to her. But the way the camera has him framed, he's right there.
Yeah.
It's suffocating almost how close he is. And you just feel that imposing, like, authoritative figure just right there. And he can't really do anything about it. And so just that really stuck out to me.
I'll talk about the framing of certain things later on, especially when we get to Norman and everything.
Okay, cool.
Because there was one thing that I was like, oh, I see things. And I'm like, it started like planting seeds in my brain of like, what does this mean? And just kind of like questioning stuff.
Yeah.
So the cop, you see her driving away back to, you know, going to California and everything.
And the music is high-pitched,
there, and then
anxiety-inducing.
The cop chasing after, or not chasing, but like being right behind her.
Following her a while.
Yeah. And then he goes off to the other side of the road. She goes like, whew, sigh of relief, right? Yeah. I know that feeling because I hate it whenever I'm driving and I'm like, I'm fine. Yeah. But then I see a cop behind me, like, oh God. And then they drive, I was like, whew. Okay, thank God. We're good. So then she ends up driving into this used car parking lot. Yeah. And she wants to trade in her car.
Which is wild.
Yes. And she wants to trade in her car to go for a new one, which I get. She wants to make sure that she's not traceable.
Yeah.
Which, again, understandable. And she pays in cash. And she grabs the cash from the $40,000 in the envelope that she took.
But But what's wild to me is I feel her intention for doing this is the cop got her license plate, and so she's trying to be undetectable. But as she's there, so she talks to the salesman, and then he walks away. We see the cop all of a sudden pull up. He sees her there.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention. Yeah.
And he's standing there, and yet why doesn't she just back out of the deal and drive off? Why does she commit? I mean...
I think it would have been more suspicious if she did that, because then it would have been like, oh, you're here to do this, but if you drive off and you know I'm here, that looks even worse, because then he's probably going to follow her there afterwards as well.
Yeah.
Rather than just committing to the bid of like, I'm just getting a new car.
That's fair.
Especially since she had already talked to the guy when she made eye contact, or not eye contact, but when she saw the cop on the other side of the road.
Yeah, sticky situation.
Yeah, so it's like thinking on her feet, which later on, I will point out that I did write on here that Marion was smart as fuck, and I'll point out why later. But she goes into the bathroom, and then she pulls out the $700, which later on, and I think this is again speaks to the character of Marion, that she wasn't doing anything nefarious. She did take the money, yes, which I don't know what her purpose was for that, other than just trying to get across town.
Yeah.
But she left notes in the envelope that basically were like IOUs of like, I'm going to pay this back, because that's what the sister said whenever they found like a note. She's like, this all adds up to $40,000. So, you know, obviously there's something here. So that tells me that she was planning on paying it back eventually.
She's not a criminal at heart.
She's like Dumb and Dumber, you know, like, here you go. Here you go. And you know, maybe that's what they were referencing. How much money was in the briefcase? I need to watch Dumb and Dumber again for like the 17th time. But anyway, so she grabs the money, pays $700, trades up the car, and that's when the cop pulls in rather, and it's just like, I'm just leaving, bro. Like, I'm just trying to leave, whatever. And so the guy was also kind of like suspicious about it. Like the used car sales guy is like, you never pressure people to do this and blah, 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 whatever. Right.
Yeah.
And so she drives off, and as she's driving off, we get an exposition dump of what's happening after she's left, which is like all the voices and everything.
Which is interesting, because I don't know if we're actually hearing what they're talking about, or if it's her brain just being like, this is what they're going to be talking about. Oh my gosh, like her anxieties.
Yeah. Then you're right. That does, I do feel like that, because again, it's one thing if you see it being acted out by the actors. Yeah. It's another if you hear it. So you're right. It could just be harder. It could just be the anxiety of the situation. Oh, they're going to think I'm doing something bad.
I think that's what it is.
And, you know, stuff like that. So we get a little bit more of information of maybe how her brain's feeling about the whole situation. And that's when it gets dark. Yep. It starts getting rainy.
Very rainy. Yeah.
Incredibly rainy. And I do want to point out that I want to do more research on this, because, you know, I'm learning more how old cinema was made, to just kind of retrace our steps back to the beginning as well. I want to find out if that shot that they had of Arizona to start the movie was just like a miniature set that they just like kind of got together, and then they just filmed it as it was like an overhead shot. Because I don't know if they had the technology back in the 50s, because this was obviously filmed in the 50s, I think, like late 50s or something, to get that overhead shot of like the entire city and everything like that. Because obviously now we have drones, we've got helicopters that can go up there and everything. I want to figure out how they did that, because if it's miniatures, it makes sense. I know that it's sets, of course, because, you know, they didn't have like gigantic shooting locations back then and everything. And even then the outside shots look lively, but they also kind of look like green screen. So I'm like, were green screens a thing back here? Like, how were they done? So I want to look more into the production of this movie, because I just find it fascinating. So I just think it's really, really cool. Like, you know, looking back at this kind of stuff, be like, how were these people making movies back then to make them feel larger than life? Or at least give them life, so to speak. So anyway, shouts out to Alfred Hitchcock. I think you're an incredible filmmaker already after just watching one of your movies so far. But okay, so those shots like in the car and everything were really well done, with like, you know, even looking back in the car, like, you know,
seeing the rearview mirror.
Seeing the rearview mirror, that had to have been green screen or some kind of effect or something, like interpolated or something, because if you're filming straight from there, you're gonna see the camera. And I know that they don't have computers back here that can erase the camera and give you the shot that you want. So, you know, I want to do like a deep dive into how this movie was made, because I just found it fascinating. But anyway, so it starts raining, it gets dark, she has to pull over to a motel. She has to, yes. And so she just pulls into a random one, and it ends up being
first one that she sees.
And it's the famous Bates Motel, which I knew the name, obviously iconic location for horror, and it's been parodied to hell. There's even a show called Bates Motel. And I didn't know that was about Psycho until later on, because again, I didn't know the names and everything. And I feel like that was my first actual introduction to the world of Psycho, even though I still haven't seen it. And we see that she pulls in, she starts beeping the horn because nobody's answering, nobody's getting her keys or anything. And then we see Norman come out of the house and just rush.
Another thing I found so fascinating, it's like, surely there's somewhere else to pull over. The fact that she doesn't leave, she commits to, no, I'm gonna stay here.
I think it was just because of the danger of it all too, because it was so dark. I could not see anything. And I don't think like lights on the sides of the street were a big thing back then either.
That's true. So
it's a whole different era. At least I feel. I could be wrong. Please, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, because I want to learn more about this stuff. So then we see Norman for the first time, Norman Bates. And the infamous Norman Bates. And it was played by Anthony Perkins, who I told you this while we were watching the movie, which I just want to point out for the podcast. For some reason, every time I see Anthony Perkins' name, I think of Anthony Hopkins, who is the guy that plays Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs. But I was like, he looks so young, and that was like 40 years prior. Like, I can't believe he's been acting for 40 years. And it's just like random connections in my brain. I was like, that's really weird. But then I Googled Anthony Perkins, and then I saw everything from him, and I was like, oh, wait, this is the guy that quit acting when he had kids because he wanted to be present for his kids. And I heard about the story like a month ago, I think. Like, I went down a rabbit hole from something from Dead Meat, and I found out just how dope Anthony Perkins was as a dad, because like he wanted to be there for his family. Then his wife passed away. And I think I could be wrong. And I wanted, he wanted to be there for his kids. I was like, okay, cool, great dad. Like, quit your insanely lucrative job to take care of the family. Badass. Yeah. So I then found out that he had 2 kids, and one of them being Osgood Perkins. And you were looking, I was like, who's that? And then I was like, I was the guy from Longlegs, which I think that was one of the first horror movies we watched together. I think maybe because that was like last year.
I think so. Yeah. Like in theaters. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was terrified of Longlegs. I was like, this is going to be a horrifying movie. And I showed you like all the like preview stuff.
I brought my stuffed animal into the theater.
It was incredible marketing. And I thought the movie was fantastic as well. I'm one of the few people that actually really loves that movie. It's very divisive. I don't know if you've seen it on online and stuff. But then later he came out with The Monkey, which I know you haven't seen yet. It's really funny. I think you would really enjoy it because the message of it was just amazing. And then I saw Keeper, and my feelings on Keeper.
Yes.
Anyways, that's who I later found out. I was like, oh, that's that guy. And then everything just started clicking for me that's Anthony Perkins. And I feel like I started paying more attention to everything he did, because again, without going into the twist and the reveal of at the end and everything, I had a feeling something was up with him, because I know that he is considered one of horror's biggest villains, like best created villains in the scope of the story. So I was like, there's something here.
So what were your first thoughts on him when he entered the scene?
I had that uneasy feeling because I'm coming at this from a 2025 perspective, right? Yeah. That's kind of the heart of the whole show and everything. Like, I haven't seen these classics. So I go in with a lot of knowledge already that maybe not of that specific property, but I at least know some stuff that I've seen afterwards.
That's fair.
And it was just fascinating to me that my guard was already up as soon as I saw him. I was like, I don't trust you. I don't know what's going on with you. I don't like this. Yeah. And I think he did a really good job of just like, if you were watching it for the first time in the 60s, put your guard down. It's fine. Which one thing I did notice, which again, I wrote this later in my notes. I love how every door is just open.
I know.
They don't believe in locks. Which that's a thing up until like the 80s, I think, when the Satanic Panic started happening. Yeah. People like the Midnight Killer or whatever his name. I forget what his name was. But Richard Ramirez was his actual name, from California and everything. But anyways, until that happened, like people started, locking the doors more and everything. Which again, I think is what makes The Strangers one of the greatest home invasion movies of all time, because fuck that movie. But anyways, so I think he did a really good job of just like making you feel like your guard could be down, like you could trust him and everything. Yeah. Until later when they have the chat about the taxidermy. Yeah. That's when I started being like, okay, this is the funky stuff. But anyways, so she signs into the motel under a fake name. Yes. Which was, I forgot the first name, but then the last name was Samuels, which is like, oh, that could be Sam, because
Marie?
Yeah, Marie. Yeah. So it could be short for Marion. Yeah. So Marie Samuels was the name that was given.
And she said that she was traveling to California. Or no, she was traveling from California.
So, but she was traveling to, as we know.
Yeah.
She said Los Angeles because that's what she saw in the newspaper. Which, by the way, the newspaper is the one that she grabbed from the used car lot. Which I want to point the newspaper out for later for why I said that Marianne is smart. Smart as fuck. I have to add that second part because I was like, dude, this girl was thinking about it all. She did not want to get caught in anything.
Yeah.
So she signs in, and then Norman introduces himself, and he says that he's making, or if she looks hungry, if she wants to eat something, and
which already for me irritating. Like, you're just checking me in. This is not, we're not friendly. We're not supposed to engage. Like, this isn't a B&B. You're checking me into a room. We don't need to have further reactions past this.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I find that fascinating. As somebody in hospitality, I find that fascinating. Because, I'm the other way. I'm like, no, I'm going to give you whatever you need. It's like, anything else I can get for you? No? Okay, cool.
A single woman pulling into a motel. You're introduced to a man who's lean but very tall. And then, again, you're the only one there. It's late. And he's like, oh, and you want to have dinner? I have chills. I have goosebumps right now.
I will refute your point and say it was the 60s.
I don't like it.
I'm going to keep using that as a frame of reference. It was the 60s.
I don't like it.
There's, I'll after we're done recording, I'll show you this bit from the guys that did What Did the Fox Say?
Okay.
Were you a fan of that song?
Yeah.
They have a bit parroting Mad Men. Where it's basically like, it was the 50s, and it's so good. It cracks me up. It may have not aged well. I haven't seen it in a while, but that was like 10, 15 years ago. So it cracked me up, and I'm going to show it to you after we're done recording. Okay. But anyways, okay, so he goes up to the house, and she goes into her room, and she immediately starts, scouting the area where she can hide the $40,000. And she finds no place where she can really hide it.
She was going to put it in the drawer, but then decided against it.
And that's when this is before she tries to leave.
Right. She's still prepared to settle in for the night.
Yeah. And what I found fascinating, again, this is where like the seeds of doubt were starting to be planted into my brain. Yeah. Because we hear the conversation between Norman and his mom from the house. Yep. And I was like, again, from what I know, I was like, wait, like, wasn't the mom not existent? And like, because that's what I knew. And I was like, I thought she didn't exist. And so like, we hear the conversation. And it's
very loud. They're yelling. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm confused now. So that's when I like leaned in a little bit. I was like, okay, what's happening here? So, that's when I was, again, just not knowing what actually happens. Yeah. And then just watching it and experiencing it for the first time. I'm like, okay, I'm interested now. Yeah. I'm even more interested because I was drawn in by the story. It's a good story. Yeah. But then the seeds of doubt were starting to be planted in my brain and everything. And so I hear the conversation between both of them, and it's a very rough conversation with Norman trying to be, gentle, trying to be nice and everything. It's like, she's a guest. We should, make sure that she's taken care of. She could have gone to any motel, but she chose us, blah, 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 whatever. And then he comes back with food, a sandwich and milk, and is like, oh, I'm not hungry. You can eat it. It's fine. And then that's when they have a conversation about Norman basically being there on his own.
Oh, wait.
With his mom.
Before, so if we could go back just a little bit, because there was something I noticed. So to your point about it was a different time. It was, I don't know when the movie is supposed to take place. I think 50s, maybe?
I think because the movie came out in 1960. Okay,
but what we were talking about as far as hospitality. So I noticed he lets her in the room, and then she's like, thank you, Mr. Norman. And then he goes, no, Mr. Bates. Thank you, Mr. Bates. And then he goes, Norman Bates. You see her face fall. Because he's trying to be more personal than what she wants. Yeah. And so we see her become like where she falls into feeling bad for him. Yeah. And then that also couples with, she hears Norman and his mom yelling at each other. And also the mom just being very like belittling. She's very mean. Yeah. And then he's saying that she's going to come in for dinner. And then she's like, why? So you guys can have a candlelit dinner. She doesn't sound like the lady from Monsters, Inc.
I thought I was listening to that right now.
But just very mean. And so, yes, he comes to her with the food. And then she's like, would you like to come into my room so we can have dinner? And then he's like, no, let's have it in the parlor or the office, I think it was. And so she shuts the door. They go into the office. And then what were your first thoughts of the office?
Then he's like, oh, let's go into the parlor, which is, further back and everything. Yeah. He's like, the office is too officious. And I was like, I want some of these vocabulary words that they use in this movie and just use it for commentary. Because I was like, it'll make me sound sophisticated. I passed the SAT with a 100.
From a killer.
I got 100 on the SATs, guys. But anyway, so they go to the parlor and that's when she notices all the stuffed birds.
So many.
And then you notice the paintings in the back.
2 paintings.
And
yes.
We'll talk about that in a second because at that point, I feel like you stopped watching the movie and you just like got deep into your phone looking for stuff, which is fine because you've already seen it. I hadn't yet. Yeah. And I was like, that's what got me interested. I was like, what are you doing? Like, again, and normally when we watch a movie for like the podcast and stuff, when we watch it together, like when we did Die Hard, I was like, don't pause it. I just want to go all the way through, experience it. And then after a certain point, I stopped taking notes. And because I just got so drawn in by the movie and everything.
And there's so much happening. It's pretty quick.
Yeah. But I was just drawn into, I was like, I'm just going to trust Camilla to carry me through this because I'm just having fun, which is good for an older movie that is considered a classic. So for this one, like when I saw that happening, I was like, oh, she's going to have a lot to say after this, which is good. But anyway, so they talk about the taxidermy. Yeah. And he talks about how he enjoys doing it as a hobby because it's cheap, except for the chemicals, which is the most expensive part. Yeah. Which I found that as an interesting comment. Yeah. As later on, I found out why, and I was like, And it's funny that as I'm saying it now, it's starting to make even more sense because I'm just like, oh, okay, foreshadowing.
And if you notice, she asks, like, do you do this to other animals like dogs? And he says, no, only birds, because he says something along the lines of, I don't have an attachment to it.
Yeah. Yeah. So then you find out that, let's see, he talks about the taxidermy and then I think she starts mentioning the mom.
Yeah, she's
and
like,
it's I heard you arguing. Yeah. Sorry about that. Like, et cetera, et cetera.
Didn't mean to get you in trouble.
This is where everything starts to turn.
I know.
Because then she starts making some kind of comments about like, oh, why don't you just, go up in a new motel, further away from here, blah, blah, whatever. And then that seems to just completely piss him off because he doesn't want to be away from it. It's like, well, I got to take care of her. And then he's like, well, you could send her somewhere. Yeah. And he's what I think she's insinuating, or at least what I thought, was like a nursing home, which I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, but the way that he heard it or he interpreted was like an institution. So I was like, oh, okay, that's just, kind of
intense.
Yeah. So, I was like, okay, that's a lot. Yeah. So, he starts getting pissed off. He starts getting angry. And then you could kind of see that he's very defensive of his mother. Yeah. And, later on we find out why and whatnot. Yeah. So anyways, after that happens, she kind of starts feeling a little uncomfortable. You can kind of see it in her that she's feeling uncomfortable. Yeah. And she's like, okay, I'm just gonna, go turn in for the night.
Yeah. Like, this is a lot.
Yeah. So then at that point, they end up leaving. And then he stays in the room. And this is the first thing that I noticed from like the cinematography standpoint and everything. In that room, everything was well lit. Everything was like very open and, it was dark, yes. Yeah. But you could clearly see their faces and everything. And as soon as she leaves and Norman is in that room on his own, you see the light on his face half and half. And it's like half lit, half dark. And I was like, oh, I don't know if that's on purpose, or if they're trying to plant seeds and stuff. And if we get a chance, I want to go back and show you afterwards. But you can see like his demeanor changed. Everything about him changed, like his body language and everything changed. But that was like the big thing that I saw. I was like, there's something else going on here with like, the half and half. Like, I feel like that's a message to the viewer. So then this is when we find out that he can take down one of the paintings and look through the hole and just kind of basically like spy on her. Okay. And then this is where you wanted to, point something out.
Yes,
so
because it's so huge. As they're sitting there, you see two portraits.
Yes.
One of them, You had mentioned thinking that one of the paintings was like called the Mother or something.
Yes.
You were right.
Okay.
I misunderstood. It is called I don't know if it's called the Mother, but it's a representation of Venus and Cupid.
Yes.
And it is supposed to be like a kind of like not appropriate parent-child relationship. You
Yes.
can kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
But also that painting is to depict a woman who's very sexual. Like she's supposed to be viewed as like lustful. And she's adorned with a lot of jewelry. Like she's very beautiful. She's exposed a little bit, but in the picture, she's confident. Then the picture right next to it is a depiction of, there's a book in the Catholic Bible called, I believe it's Susan and the Elders. And what the story is about is there's a woman bathing, and then these elders notice her bathing and they approach her and they're like, we want to have sex with you. She says no. And they're like, okay, your options are do this or we're telling people that you did. And then there are depictions of this incident where it's either like depicted as an assault or not. But in this instance, the depiction is that she is being attacked. And that is the painting that we see him pull down to spy on her in the room.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Because again, what we find out later and stuff, just the whole message, or I guess not message of the movie, but like the intricacies of the story and everything.
Yes.
Very interesting. So
Yes.
that's again, that's a little thing about filmmaking that I like. Like if a director does like little details like that later for us to be able to dissect the movie further,
Yes.
like we're doing right now.
Yes.
It's fantastic. Which not in the same scale as this, but something that I love about Edgar Wright's work, which I know I've told you before, he's like one of my favorite directors. He always does like things like that enhance the experience. Where if you're paying attention, cool, like you're gonna see things, but on rewatch and when somebody points it out, you're gonna be like, oh my god, it's it's like right fucking there.
Yes.
Which I keep forgetting whether you've told me whether you've watched Scott Pilgrim or not.
I think I have, but I don't remember.
Okay, so we're definitely going to watch that eventually, especially now that we have the surround sound system. But there's in the entire movie, Scott is still kind of heartbroken about his breakup with Envy Adams, which is the musician. And every single time, I'm not even kidding, every single time you hear the name Envy, that's not like in a fight or something, you hear like an alarm go off in the background. And that's just like Scott's brain being like, oh, this is bad. I don't like this kind of like thing. But it's not something that's prominent. It's not something that's like, oh, look, it's an alarm. Like,
It's
no,
something
it's just
forgettable.
It's subtle.
Missable.
It's completely subtle. And I found this out when I was watching the special features for the movie, because I did so much. I did like the deepest dive on that movie because I fucking love that movie.
Yeah.
And that's what made me love Edgar Wright. It's like you put so much detail into everything, so much love into every little thing, so much inspiration from not just video games, but like fighting movies and, like kung fu movies and stuff.
Yeah.
Amazing. It's just amazing. So to notice like little things like that when you go back and rewatch it, or maybe like, do interpretation of stuff, like that's fantastic. Like, my interpretation of The Long Walk, which is going to be a thing that I do later on. Like whenever I'm like on a cold, dark, rainy day, I was like, I'm going to sit down and make this video, which hopefully is received well. Cause it's like, I think it's like one of the biggest revelations I've had, which funny enough, I don't think I've told you this yet. There's a reason I've started walking at a 10% incline, 3 miles per hour every single time when I work out. So that's like in my brain at all time. Like, just like I'm thinking of like, this is the long walk. So, it's that little mental thing that gets me over the edge for what I want to accomplish and whatnot. Ooh. So anyways, interpretation of movies, right? It's fantastic. So I'm glad that you picked up on something new on this rewatch, because that's always something like I always just find fascinating, that we can continue to just watch movies and continue to learn from them, and, just continue to take new things, because that's what media is. You're just supposed to enjoy the ride and maybe hopefully take something out of it. Maybe you don't, and that's okay. Maybe all that you need to take out of it is that a car went 120 miles per hour into the sun and said, we're family, and that's it. That's cool.
Made you feel something.
And that's fine. That's perfectly fine. As much as I don't like the Fast and Furious movies. Okay, so this is where I actually wrote down Marion is smart as fuck, because I think this is the part where Marion goes back she grabs the $40,000 from the envelope and she stuffs it into the newspaper.
Yes.
And rolls it up.
Yeah.
To where it looks like there was no money. So they're looking for her. They're not going to find it. Or she doesn't have to move any more things around because it would just look like she has a newspaper. And no one's going to question her having a newspaper. So I was like, dude, this chick is smart as fuck. I love her.
She's, didn't even clock that.
Yeah, like I just got the feeling that she's just smart as fuck off of that alone.
Yeah.
And just all the things that she's done to protect herself and such. Yeah. And this is where the incredibly famous shower scene happens, because obviously this scene has been parodied to hell. I've seen it so many times in so many different mediums. Everything, the sound, like the music, everything just happens. And seeing it with context, I think was really cool, because we're about like, I want to say maybe 40 minutes in, maybe almost about an hour into the movie at this point. Yeah. And Marion has been our character the entire time.
Yes, main character.
You see her taking a shower, and then through the curtain, you see a body, like a silhouette that looks just like Norman. But then when she opens it, it's somebody in a dress.
And then you see a wig, long hair.
And then you see the knife and then the stab. There it is. It's gone. She's dead. Yeah. And again, I think for something like that at that time was fascinating, because obviously now we know Scream. Drew Barrymore was marketed as like, you know, the star of Scream. Yes. And all the promotional material was her. Yeah. And she dies in the first 5 minutes. And it's like, what? So who the fuck is going to be the person of this movie? And, you know, for the time, that sets such a huge precedent for like, you're not going to know what to expect of the Scream movie. Yes. And that's why I think the Scream movies have such high return value for everybody that watches them. Which later on, obviously, as you know, we get deeper into the story of Scream, people are like, oh, I figured it out, because there's rules to everything. If you're able to turn your brain off and just enjoy the ride, I think the Scream movies are fantastic. But then there's also some genuine twists and turns that kind of play with the expectations. And I think that's what makes those movies great. Even number 3, looking back at it, with revisionists now, people are saying that 3 wasn't that bad, which I agree. Back then, growing up, I always knew that Scream 3 was always the worst one. It's probably the one I've seen the least. But I think like now looking back at it, a lot of people are like appreciating it for us. It still has its misses and everything, but a lot of more people are appreciating it more. Which again, speaking of going back to watch movies, I don't know if you know this about Psycho, but I learned this in the lead up to us watching the movie, which I think is incredible. Apparently, this movie was potentially, maybe there's some argument here or there to be made, that this is the reason movies stopped showing nonstop. Because back then, theaters used to just play movies on continuous loops, and people could buy a ticket. They could go in, just enjoy. They could even like go in halfway through the movie. You're right. And then they could just, just enjoy whatever was playing on the big screen. And you could come in halfway through. Yes. Not a big deal. Yes. But Alfred Hitchcock wanted you to be able to sit there and watch the entire thing. And he made the rule that there were going to be start times and end times. Yes. And then you had to buy a ticket. You couldn't talk about it. You had to keep everything spoiler free. Yes. And you just had to go in. Yep. And as soon as the movie was done, go out. Next person comes in, and they just did that, which that kind of started the time theater thing, which again, amazing, because I'm a movie theater worker. I enjoy the movie industry. After hopefully my career is done and I get to have some money to set aside for myself, I want to open up my own theater. You know that. That's like my ultimate goal when I retire and everything. Yes. So like I love the movie industry, and the fact that it was because of Alfred Hitchcock and Psycho that this began happening. Yes. I think it's fascinating. Yes. Because I could not think of a time where people would just walk in like halfway. Like, for example, Sonic 3 is right behind you. Like, I could not imagine a time where people are like, oh yeah, we're going to watch Sonic 3. But then they walk in whenever him and Shadow are talking on the moon, and I'm like, we'll just sit through until it starts again. And I'm like, no, like the fuck? No. Yeah. I would hate that. Like, I like we've even talked about this before too, that I like showing up early. Like, we can miss a trailer or two. That's fine. Yeah. But I will not miss the first part of the movie. If I miss 1 minute of the movie, I'm out. I'm gone. I don't want this. Yeah. So, and I'll wait for the next showing wherever it is. I don't care. Yes. So yeah, no, I find it fascinating that it is because of this, and the anticipation that Alfred Hitchcock wanted to build for the hype and everything was kind of, again, replicated with Scream, because a lot of people thought they were going to go watch a horror movie with Drew Barrymore, and they were deceived, and they're like, okay, what the hell's gonna happen for the next 90 minutes? Like, what?
Yeah.
So I like shouts out again, Alfred Hitchcock, not just for your amazing filmmaking, but standardizing something that we practice still to this day.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I think that's amazing.
And something interesting, his willingness to go against the grain, because so I've heard people say that Psycho is the first movie to show a flushing toilet, which isn't technically true. There were films before this, but what happened was these Hays guidelines were set in place for movies from, I think, 1938 to 1960 something, 1968 possibly. But and I guess one of those restrictions was like no flushing toilets. I don't know exactly what the guidelines were, but Alfred was like, we're doing this. She throws it into the toilet, flushes it.
Revolutionary.
That apparently was like really shocking.
Yeah. Revolutionary.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta push the envelope a little bit, right? Like sometimes it's received well. For example, Saw. Like I think that kind of pushed the envelope when it came to gore and everything.
Yeah.
And then I think Hostel took it a little too far, and then Human Centipede took it a little bit too much farther after that. Which I still think the first one is great, but I haven't seen the second or third. But I've heard that they. We're not gonna talk about that.
Respectfully.
We're gonna watch Human Centipede. We're gonna flip it for. How about this? For the 100th episode, we flip this, and I have watched the movie that you haven't. We watched Human Centipede.
Maybe.
Guys, like this video, comment below. We're gonna make that a goal for our 100th.
Oh no!
Mark it.
No!
Okay, so I'm trying to see if I like. Okay, I did skip over something. There was. Okay, so I have it here. It says classic shower scene. So I have already missed two things that I wanted to talk about. So I think it may have. I thought it was later in the conversation between Sam and Norman. But there's two things that he said that I was like, fucking pop. So obviously the first one is the classic line. A boy's best friend is his mother. I like that line a lot because I've seen it referenced to All Hell, obviously, because Psycho's a classic and everything. And I was like, okay, there it is. Now I have the context of it. Great. But then I may be skipping away a thing here because then I literally wrote classic shower scene, but then he said something that I was like, there it is. We all go a little mad sometimes. Do you know who referenced that in a later movie?
I don't know.
Okay, so I hope that this gets the same reaction out of you that it got out of me because you saw my reaction.
I did. It was very big. Yeah.
It's a movie that we've literally been talking about parallel to this one in Scream. When Billy Loomis, which funny enough, his name is also Loomis.
Yeah.
He's like, we all go a little mad sometimes, and then he shoots at Sydney. And when he does a reveal, or no, he's with Sydney, and then he shoots Stu. I think it was Stu. No, or whoever he was
somebody.
with.
Yeah.
But whoever, like, they're literally up against the door. Is like, Billy, come on. And it's like, we all go a little mad sometimes, and then he shoots. And again, the whole point of Scream is that they were obsessed with horror movies.
Yes.
So, yeah. So when he said that, I was like, I thought that was a Scream classic, but it's not. It's a reference to Psycho.
Yeah.
And so I think, again, that just makes me appreciate Scream even more because I didn't realize that was a line from Psycho.
That's so cool. Yeah. I love that you caught that. Yeah. So, Thank you for going back.
It's literally one of my favorite lines in horror media and everything because again, you go back and watch Scream if you're blind to it and you haven't seen it. Sorry that we spoiled it for you, but it was so cool to just hear that. I was like, I know that, and immediately my brain just goes like, I know where that's from, and then obviously I start connecting the dots. Like all the dots just like started reconnecting. I was like, so that's from Psycho, which again, as we later find out as we go through the movie, the Scream series in Scream 2. Yeah. Billy's mom comes back.
Yes.
So, she, it's a whole thing. So anyways, I found it fascinating. I thought it was great. And that line fucking got me really, really good. So the classic shower scene, she dies, she gets stabbed to death, and it's like a whole thing.
Yeah. And something that was heartbreaking for me. Yes, the murder gruesome, but the fact that right after she was left alone, her last attempt at privacy was to grab the shower curtain. Like that was her last, like.
Yeah. I feel like the fact that there was just a misdirection of this is the main character, this is what's happening, and then all of a sudden she's no longer there. It's like, so where the hell did this movie go then?
Yeah.
And
does he kill more people?
Yeah, and that's when we see Norman come from the house, and then he finds the dead body.
Mother, what did you do?
Yeah, and then that's when he starts cleaning everything up. And again, he's very thorough.
Interesting fact. I don't know if you know, but there was actually chocolate syrup for the blood.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know this from it's a famous factoid, but it's also a joke in the Epic Rap Battles of History with Alfred Hitchcock. So now I'm going to go back and watch that too.
Yeah.
Because I was like, now I know Psycho and everything. And I know a little bit about the birds as well too and everything. So I'm going to go back and watch that and just see what kind of little things I may not have picked up on that I now know.
I did notice in her room, there were birds on every painting, similar to the taxidermy that's in his room. But in the other room, the one that he put the other people that come by, there's flowers on the wall.
Interesting.
Just
that's got to mean something.
That's what I'm thinking.
Got to mean something. Okay, so then we see Norman clean up the body. And he doesn't even know that there's $40,000 in there at all whatsoever.
Right.
Because again, he just saw the newspaper, right?
Yeah, collects her stuff.
He packs up all her stuff, puts it in the back of her car, collects her, puts her in the back of the car, and then we see the car being driven into a swamp where it just goes underwater, which again, you would think makes the body disappear, but as we later find out, it does not.
It doesn't.
So this is where everything kind of turns. Because now we see Marion's sister, Lila, go over to Sam,
his store,
the hardware store in California, in Fairvale, which this was when I told you, I know that name.
Yes.
Sam Loomis.
Yeah.
And at first I thought like Billy Loomis, and that's what I was thinking of Scream or whatever. Yeah. But then I saw Sam Loomis and I was like, dog, that is Halloween. Straight up Halloween. Because his name is Dr. Samuel Loomis. And that's the guy that, not the caretaker, but the one that studies Michael. And basically like his antagonist, even though Michael's the antagonist, but I wouldn't call Sam Loomis a protagonist.
Yeah.
But they're like the kindred spirits, right? We see Sam. I'm assuming his name's Sam Loomis, which I think is a fantastic.
Writing a sad boy letter. Yeah. Like, come on.
Do you remember what it said?
It was basically like, we would sleep in a cupboard, basically. That's all we'd have. Do you really want this? Like, we won't have anything. We'll be poor. Me.
You really don't like Sam.
I hate him.
Fair. That's entirely fair. So we see that Lila comes into the store, immediately talks to Sam and is like, I'm looking for Sam.
And she's frantic, on it, rightfully so.
And she's like, have you seen my sister?
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, what do you mean? Like, she hasn't been here. And she doesn't believe him at all whatsoever.
Yeah, fair.
And that's where the private detective comes in.
And again, his shot, he's completely invading the camera. It's too close. It's uncomfortable. Yeah. And then, yeah.
And this dude's name is Arbogast.
Yeah.
I'm like, what kind of fucking name is that, dude? Like, absolutely the fuck not. And this is where the mystery begins now.
Yes.
Because they're trying to figure out what happened. And honestly, it felt like it was two movies into one. Because something that I would talk to Camilo about on his Die Hard episode was that I was shocked when I pulled up a movie from the 80s and it was 2 hours long. Because I always felt movies were shorter.
Yeah.
So this morning when I woke up and I asked you how long is this movie, and I looked at it, it was like an hour 48. I was like, do I just have a misconception of how long movies are? Because for some reason my brain always registered everything as like below 90 minutes, like 88 to 135-ish range. Yeah. Because even one of my favorite movies, Airheads, was 128, and I was like, okay, cool. And that movie just ends.
Well, like, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang has like a full-on intermission section.
How long is that?
I don't remember. But if it's got an intermission...
Well, to counter that point, Killers of the Flower Moon came out 2 years ago, and that movie's 3.5 hours long.
All right.
No intermission. We have Avatar. We have Avatar Fire and Ash coming out in 2 weeks, and that one is 3 hours and 19 minutes. So, and that's without previews. So
Lord of the Rings is 3 hours...
That's the extended version. That was not the theatrical version's like 220 something, like 230 ish. Yeah,
245 or something.
Return of the King is like 3, almost 3. But
that's what I thought.
Avengers Endgame is like 258 as well. So, anyways, so the mystery begins. Arbogast is the private investigator hired to find
the money.
Not the girl.
No.
The money.
The money.
Which again, that's being the central part of the entire mystery is fascinating because everything happened because of those $40,000, even though that's not what the motivation for any of the characters is.
And the fact that the guy said he doesn't carry anything on him that he's not okay losing.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. You don't want to be robbed.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just found that fascinating that it's just like, whatever. It is what it is. But I was like, you're kind of fucking weird.
Yeah.
So anyways, so this, let's see. So then Arbogast is like, no, there's a mystery afoot here. Like, I will help you find your sister.
Yeah.
But I'm here for the $40,000, basically.
Yeah,
and so he sounds like he's incriminating Marion because I was like, well, wouldn't you do that if it was like for $40,000, especially with a boyfriend here? Like, come on. Like, it's like, all right, cool. You guys don't know what's going on, but sure, whatever. So Arbogast goes to the motel. He goes to several motels before he stumbles upon Bates Motel.
Yes.
And he's like, I'm not looking for a room. I'm just here to have a conversation with somebody.
Which is interesting that he found it. I don't know what time of day it is, but he mentioned that the light wasn't on.
Yeah.
Yet the light was on when our main character was going there. So
well, it was also really dark and rainy.
It was, yeah.
So and it looked to be bright for whenever Arbogast goes in there. It may be turning to dark. It may be like at dusk. So maybe I don't know. So as this is all going on, Arbogast is having a conversation with Norman, and Norman's like, "Yeah, it's just me and my mom here. Like that's
nobody's come here for weeks."
And the one thing that I noticed after this conversation, it was during the initial Marion conversation during this, and then later on as well. I feel like when something is starting to go wrong or something is starting to like not feel comfortable for Norman, he starts stuttering.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's just like a nervous tick or if he just had a stutter. Because I've met people with stutters before that they're able to be calm, cool, and collected, like it's fine. But then as soon as stuff starts to like make them a little nervous or something, they start stuttering.
Or it'll get worse. Yeah.
And in Sixth Sense, the teacher, perfectly fine. And then whenever he starts getting called Stuttering Stanley, like he just starts coming back. So I was like, oh shit, like he starts getting stressed, right? It's a sign of stress.
Yeah.
So that started to make me wonder, it's like he's getting stressed maybe, and that could be like potentially what sets him off and whatnot. So then with that, Arbogast is like, yeah, there's no trace of your sister here, like, but something doesn't sit right with me because like there's something with the mom. Like I saw somebody at the house and he was here, so like I want to go investigate.
Yeah, and then Norman slips up and he's like, well, there was a couple that came in a while ago and blah blah blah, and he's like, aha.
Yeah. So in true detective fashion. So then, so then what happens here is
Norman goes somewhere, so he's left by himself.
Yes. So then he goes to the house.
Yeah.
And again, there's no lock, so he just goes right in.
Also, kind of rude. Like, okay, so the mom's in the house, and he's like, no, I'm just gonna go talk to her. Opens the door.
Agreed.
Like,
and again, it was the 60s. They didn't believe in locks.
But he's creeping around.
Oh, no, absolutely. I'm not, trust me, I am not justifying this by any means whatsoever. But again, like there's a reason locks started becoming a thing after a long while. Because back then, I'm not even kidding, dude. In Mexico even, you could just go into people's houses and it doesn't matter to this day. Maybe that's changed over the last decade since I haven't lived there. But I remember being young and like doors just being open.
There's no knocking. It's just, hey.
Just like, hey, I'm here. It's like a sitcom. Hey, and then you just hear the clapping. Yeah, Mexican clapping. No, I'm kidding. So anyways, Arbogast goes into the house and then he starts snooping around and goes upstairs.
Creeping up the stairs.
And then as he gets up to the stairs, he opens a door or something, but I know that you get the overhead shot of her coming out, like the mother coming out of the room. But did he knock or something or make his presence known or something? No, she just popped out. Okay, so the mother just pops out of the room and stabs him in the fucking face. And I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
That, like, obviously not graphic because it's like, the 60s or whatever, but that for that being that time period, that was fucking gruesome. And I couldn't even imagine somebody dying like that. Like the Scream 5, I think, was where the West character gets stabbed through the bottom and like the the knife just comes out. I was like, that was the most gruesome thing I've ever seen out of Scream. Holy shit. And just, to think of it back then, like that's basically what happened. Dude just got fucking stabbed in the skull.
Yeah.
So it's like,
falls
damn.
all the way down the stairs.
Yeah. And then Arbogast is no more.
Yep.
So then at this point, Lila, because they had a phone call before this all happened. Lila's like, well, he told us if he's not back within an hour, we gotta see what's happening. And so that's when they decide, after a little bit back and forth, that they're gonna go.
Because Sam was like, so I take you back to your hotel, or what do you want to do? And she's like, no, we're going.
Yeah, fair, entirely fair. And so after a back and forth, they decide to go back to the hotel, to the motel.
Yes.
And that's when, like, hey, we'll pretend to be married, and then we'll do our own investigation and everything, and everything starts going into the climax.
And
right?
what I love is the fact that when they show up to the motel, we see Norman standing at the bayou or the swamp.
Yeah.
So it's assumed that he put his body in there. We didn't actually have to watch it, but it's just, I like that. I like that little detail.
Little touches, yeah.
Yeah.
And okay, so after he kills Arbogast, as the couple is making their way into the motel, we see Norman go into the house and have a conversation with his mother. And this is, again, where the seeds of doubt were starting to be planted. Like, they're starting to sprout, right?
Yeah.
Because me coming into this, I was like, she's not real. Like, she was always made up.
So did you think that it was more like a split personality?
No. I didn't know what it was.
Okay.
I just knew that whatever happened, whatever my belief was, she just wasn't real.
Okay.
So that's what I believed. So it's like, I don't know what the full thing was. So they start having a conversation, and I'm like, this is really interesting. Like, what the fuck is happening?
And we don't see in the room. We're just right outside the room.
And then she's like, you're going to put me back in that cellar, blah, blah, whatever. It's like, we got to hide you for safety. And then you see him come out with a body, and I'm like, who the fuck is that? And I was like, so she's real? And like, I literally have it on here. Wait, so she's real? And so, again, I'm confused. Me, as a first-time viewer, I'm confused.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure it out. I want to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so that happened, and that's when they arrive.
Yes.
Like, she's gone. The mother's gone.
Yes.
And Norman comes down.
Puts her in the cellar.
Yeah. And that's when Sam and Lila arrive to the motel.
Sam and Lila. Lila Crane, by the way, that was something I picked up on, was the fact that Marion's last name is a bird.
Mm-hmm. Oh, because the birds, the I think the birds came out before this.
No.
Was it after?
No, I'm saying like a bird.
The
like
taxidermy.
Yeah, he's killing birds, and then her last name's a bird.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
I didn't pick up on that. Okay. I thought it was just like references to his older movies. But
maybe.
Anyways, good.
But I like that.
I like that. Okay, so
they show up.
Okay, so let me see. Got stabbed in the face. So she's real. Okay, so the climax. This is basically the climax, because Sam and Lila get a room, and that was the one down the hall. Not number one.
Way far away from the office.
And this is where Lila, as she's coming out, she's like, I'll go ahead. And she opens the first door, and she knows that it's open. She's like, okay, cool. So this is open. She closes it.
Oh, wait. If we could back up a second.
Yeah.
So before they arrive, we see her sister like anticipating somebody coming to be able to tell her like any kind of news. We see her approach the camera, and this is the first time we see like a woman that's engulfing the entire camera frame, but she's completely enveloped in black. We don't actually see her face. And so I don't know if that's kind of a nod to the fact that women were kind of treated like just without respect, because there are little things throughout the movie that like continue this kind of sexist mind frame.
Yeah.
Like even when Norman, he was talking to Arbogast, and he was like, I wouldn't be fooled, not even by a woman. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's played a little thick. Yeah.
So yes, that detail happened. I just wanted to point that out.
All good.
And then they show up. They're there. They're waiting for him. He's coming around.
Yeah. And so then they get to the room, and that's when they come up with a plan. It's like, I'm gonna go investigate the house. You just keep him busy, but first we got to go investigate the room.
Yeah.
And so they go investigate the room because Norman's not around.
Yep.
We don't know where he's at, and that's when they find out that there's no shower curtain. Like where could the shower curtain have gone? That's where the sister finds the note. That's like, oh, I'm gonna pay this back.
the one like letter basically.
It's like, well, that proves that she's here. That I think that's all that they find in there.
Yes.
And as they're walking out, that's when they run into Norman.
Yes.
And then he's like, okay, that's when they come up with the plan. It's like, I'm going to go investigate the house. You keep him busy.
Yeah.
And then so Norman and Sam start having a conversation in the office.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Lila goes up to the house.
Yeah.
And so Lila is just investigating.
Terrifying.
She finds the room.
She finds the mother's room. And I just want to point out, it was so extravagant, so gaudy. There was so much going on, so much like architecture and... just so much. It wasn't what I was expecting.
So she goes in and she sees the imprint of a body on a bed, which I find this detail fascinating. I mean, it's not even a detail. It feels like it's very much a story beat. The fact that it's like super indented, as if she had been there for a long time. And I'm like, but we've seen her
running around.
We've seen her running around. B on the window. And just like in general, like we've seen her around. So it's like, how is the imprint so deep?
So prominent.
So I was like, interesting. Because like I lay in bed for a full day. Like I don't anymore, but I've done that before. And my body doesn't imprint them like that after a day. So it's like, okay, interesting. You know, just the thing, right? The thing to put in your brain. And so as she's coming around, Norman realizes that there's something wrong because Sam is pressing him a little too hard on the fact that they're here for a reason. Because at first Sam's like, I'm just going to keep him busy. I'm just going to do this, blah, blah, whatever. But then, you know, it just gets very to the point of like,
nagging.
It's like, there's something here. And he realized something's wrong. So he goes up to the house and he attacks Sam. Like he hits him with something to knock him out. And then he goes up to the house and then
she hears him
and she hides in a little staircase that goes downstairs, and she doesn't realize what's down there yet because she's trying to get away from him. Norman goes up to the top.
I do love that as she's hiding, she looks confident. Like he's running in, but she's not like, she's just kind of like, where can I go? I can go down here. Okay. And then she's in a cellar. It's dark, but she's still like, what's behind this door? You know what I mean? I love this.
So
I love her.
She goes into the room. And we see a body.
In a chair.
And it's like, it very much reminds me of obviously a lot of other horror movies that I've seen. It's like, again, that reveal where she turns her around and we see that it's just a skeleton, like a decomposed skeleton. That's like, oh shit, what the fuck? And so again, I think that's where the whole thing happens of like, she's not real, which technically she is. Technically. And then that's when the camera pans behind Lila and we see Norman dressed up as the mother with a knife about to attack before Sam comes in for the save.
Thankfully.
And, you know, able to... Oh, now you like Sam. I'm kidding. So then Sam comes in for the save, and that's when we get all the exposition dump of everything.
The explaining,
Which they capture him, they take him to the police, and they have him talk to a psychiatrist, which I want to point out really quick throughout all this, that the reason I think maybe Norman got scared or something was going on is because maybe he had been institutionalized prior, because every single time any kind of institutionalization comes up, he just starts going like, no, like he just starts freaking out. So it gives him like that sense of like, I don't want to go back there, which makes me think again, like he may have been there before. So anyways, we get the exposition of everything that happened. We find out that we totally skipped the scene with the cop saying that Norman's mother had been dead for 10 years. So that had been mentioned by a cop before whenever they go see him at the police with it in his house and everything. Then he calls Norman and he's like, hey, you know what's going on? It's like, no one's been here. Like, I'm fine. It's like,
and it's so frustrating because the sister knows that that's like the last place she's been. She's frantic, but it's not met with urgency. It's met with, I know him. It's nah.
That's unfortunately how a lot of cops are perceived in media, which I don't know. Anyways, so then we get the full exposition that his mother had died 10 years prior, but the cop told us that she had poisoned herself. Because she had poisoned the husband. But then the psychiatrist tells us the reverse of that Norman was the one that poisoned them. And which is like, whoa. So it just goes to show that Norman wasn't a sweet little boy, as we have come to learn. He was, maybe just something had happened to him that maybe, could set him off, maybe be a little bit evil and stuff like that, which, again, we've seen that in Halloween as well. Like, Michael has no rhyme or reason to do what he does. He's just the personification of evil. Which I kind of like that as a trait, where that's something that horror does nowadays, where it's like, oh, everything's explained away by mental health for a lot of movies. And I was like, I don't like that. It shouldn't always be something about like that. Like, sometimes people are just sociopaths and psychopaths, and that's just how they're born. Like that can happen. It's rare, but it can happen. So the way that this was explained away, or not explained away, but the way it was explained is that, he just a boy that just maybe didn't, socialize well. Maybe he was a sociopath, maybe a psychopath, but then he split personalities when that happened. Like, a boy's best friend is his mom. He needed his mom. And so he started internalizing everything about her to where he had split personalities. He is the mother and he is him. And so as more things started happening, she started to kind of take him over a little bit. And she basically now, all that we see now is going to be the mother. We're not going to see Norman. Norman's gone. Norman's dead. And so what I found fascinating is that as we go into the hallway for the other scene where we see like the final shot and everything, we hear the internalization of the mother saying, it's like, we had to convince them that it was me, because, I'm not going to have them hurt my little boy, because my boy wouldn't hurt a fly. Like, I'm going to show them that he wouldn't hurt a fly. No, she wouldn't hurt a fly.
She wouldn't hurt a fly. She's throwing her son under the bus because it's like, he did all of this. He was awful. And something I really loved was the fact that she says, I didn't kill all those women. So I feel like maybe he was hunting women. Like, he was strategic about when he would have the light on and when he wouldn't.
Well, also, the psychiatrist did say, don't you have 2 missing people? So 2 young girls.
Yeah.
So, she wouldn't hurt a fly. It wasn't her fault. She didn't do anything.
I won't even move this fly away.
Which, again, it was interesting because, again, Norman is seen as the pure one from our perspective. But he was the one that killed his mom. So, like, that is just like, what? Like, this is just like such an interesting deep dive that I feel could go either way of how it's all could all be like interpreted and perceived, at least in my opinion. And that's why I want to go back and like learn more about this movie and like, the messages and all that stuff, because it's just fascinating.
It's a good movie.
And then that final shot is like, I wouldn't even hurt a fly. And then he looks at the camera, and then we just see like the little skull thing emerging with his face and everything.
And the imposed face of the...
And then we see the car being pulled out of the swamp, which was the car that Carreon was in. So, and then the end.
So thoughts?
Before we go into that, I do want to point out that I had a feeling something was going to happen with the split personality thing, just based off of what I knew and what I experienced as we were watching the movie. But even the opening credits, did you notice anything?
Opening credits. It reminded me almost of like shredded paper as the shots were coming together.
So you may have seen shredded paper, but for me, I saw 2 splits happening. You could go either way. So again, it might just be me seeing things and maybe wanting to interpret it that way.
I like it though.
Everything was like, they come in from separate sites to create one picture. But even when it said Alfred Hitchcock, it was like kind of like blurred and like not disintegrated, but like split like by a frame. Where it was like 2 different things coming into one.
I like that.
So I mean, maybe that was intentional. I don't know. But that's kind of what I picked up on. And I was like, I think that this, kind of knowing, but not really knowing. I was like, I think this is going to be a split personality thing. So, just a cool little detail. But overall, I can see why this is a classic. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie.
I'm glad.
It's one that I like, again, I want to go back and maybe rewatch, but also do deep dives on.
Did it exceed your expectations?
I think so. Again, just with you always hear about like, oh, this is a classic movie for this reason and this reason. And then you see it be referenced or, like pay homage to different things like The Shining. After I saw The Shining, I saw it everywhere. Like the shot like the underhead shot of them like ramming a door and everything. Like a lot of movies do that. The opening elevators with the gushing blood, a lot of movies do that. The axe through the door, a lot of movies do that. Here's Johnny, you know, like that's all The Shining. So you know, to see that being referenced in other things is really cool. But when you see the origin point of it and you see it in context, I think it just adds so much more gravitas to everything of like how influential a work really has been.
Yeah, I agree.
Because again, this movie is now 65 years old.
Wow.
And here I am talking about it. So, you know, and watching it for the first time and enjoying it, I think just speaks for the longevity. And especially, again, you know, my passion is professional wrestling. And there's even some matches from like the 80s, 90s that I talk about to this day. And I was like, it holds up.
Yeah.
Like we watched Eddie and Rey Mysterio from 97. And I was like, this was amazing. And even you enjoyed that.
I did.
And I was like,
yeah, I did.
All right. So this is like, I mean, the fact that it holds up to not, I don't want to say to today's standards, but the story is so impactful and so well done that 65 years later, watching it for the first time, you can still say that was good.
Yeah.
It again just speaks for not just the creativity of the storyteller and the storytelling itself, but also just how influential the work really has been to shape the people of the future. Which now I'm gonna pay more attention to Osgood Perkins movies because now I'm curious is like, have you paid homage to Psycho that I just didn't know?
Oh yeah, like in Longlegs,
So I'm gonna pay more attention to that, just see like little things like that and whatnot. So another movie that I do want to watch from Osgood Perkins is the Black Coat's Daughter, because I've heard that movie is also insane. It was his first movie, his directorial debut, and I've seen a lot of coverage on it from movies in general or by movie channels that I watch on YouTube and stuff. But I've never seen it, so I've never experienced it. So I think that might be one that I want to watch. And I mean, maybe there's Psycho references in it that I'm like, I get it. Your dad did this. But yeah, so overall, fantastic. I can see where the inspirations come from. And I can just see overall why this is such a beloved movie. And again, why it was incredibly influential to everything that happened afterwards. Again, the Scream connections, that's what got me the most. Because I mean, I love Scream. It's one of my favorite franchises. Like the poster's like literally right there.
Yes.
So, you know, I love the little thing, the line of like, we all go a little mad sometimes. Like that's my favorite thing. Cause I was like, I get it now. It makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
I'm glad.
Cool. Alrighty. Is there anything else you would like to mention before we get out of here?
Nope.
No?
I'm good.
Cool. Alrighty. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the Missed Retrospective. I will be back next week with, I think, wrestling, because I don't think I have another movie thing scheduled yet. But I do have 3 suggestions that I have gotten for this podcast for movies. So you guys are either going to see me cover Naked Gun, Nacho Libre, which I think that's going to be the funniest one of them all, because I can't believe I haven't seen Nacho Libre, or Back to the Future. But Back to the Future, I know exactly who I want to do that with, so I need to get just that scheduled in. But for movies, those are going to be potentially the next 3 that you guys see on here. For wrestling, that's going to be here for the next 2 weeks or so. But until then, my name's Kirby Carreon. This has been the Missed Retrospective, and we will see you on the next one.